let's talk about the fun stuff of season 1. So the best thing that I think came out of season 1 was the band that we discovered at the Hard Rock Cafe in Manchester. The 66.
Yeah.
The 66. So the 66 actually just became massive ambassadors of our house and such a part of everything.
They were a band that got it.
Yeah.
It was almost like, for me, 100% down the line, it was almost like they saw what we were doing, they immediately understood it without communicating, and just jumped on the train.
Yeah.
And just rode it with us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were as much, to me, when I was looking at setting up news shows, they were always kind of spearheaded as being, front runners. So however many seasons we do, if we did 20 seasons, they'd be on every fucking season for me, because they got it, they understood it, they understood, and maybe that's just down to the people that were in the band. From Mike's perspective, he just got it and immediately got it.
Yeah.
And I also think we were kind of a similar age and probably grew up with similar things, and I think that's why he got it. Maybe some of the bands that we worked with were a bit too young for that, possibly.
Yeah.
But I can't say it enough times, he just understood without saying anything, and anything we asked them to do, they did it. But I think you've got your sort of you've got your scale, haven't you, of a band that comes in with, who just kind of like, oh, well, I'm just doing this for whatever, and they turn up and they give you a boring story on the couch where you're thinking, oh my god, there's no personality in these people whatsoever. And then you've got fucking Mike B, Ian Wilson and all that rocking in with a hedge trimmer into the interview.
I'm just going to say, can I just say 2 words? Alabama, hot pocket. So as well as just being an amazing band, they were amazing people, and so they were always my favourite interview. I just knew, and like I said earlier on, like I'd have interviews where I'd just ask one question and they'd be off. And that was with the 66. I'd ask a question and then we'd have shoe phones going off.
That was amazing. That was Wilson as well, wasn't it? Yeah. Fucking shoe phone in the middle of an interview. just from nowhere. Like, absolutely, like, nowhere.
And I would full on raw belly laugh, like, till my stomach hurt. And that was exactly what our house was meant to be.
Yeah.
It was meant to be so much fun and so much entertainment that these guys, like you say, they absolutely got it.
They all got it.
Yeah.
They all understood, like, fucking what makes great TV. It's just people acting a fucking fool.
Yeah.
And I think there was too many elements of bands where they were just trying to take it really serious. It's like, we're not Radio 1.
Yeah.
You're not in a BBC studio. You're here in a friendly environment where we're trying to push the musical side of it. But if you can push over your personality as well, people are going to buy into that.
Yeah. And these guys, they had chemistry. And that's very, very difficult to find in bands as well. So a lot of the bands that we interviewed, you had a singer and a drummer and a bassist and a guitarist, and they were all just kind of podged together because they wanted to be in a band. Whereas these guys, these were childhood friends, and they genuinely loved each other to the point where in an interview they would just tear shit out of each other, and it was that kind of chemistry that made them so much fun to be around as well.
It kind of made like the whole process worth going through.
Yeah.
In terms of just, because I think within that we
built a friendship.
Yeah,
like they were the only band that I feel that I can say are my friends. I don't think I could really say that about anyone else that was on the show from my own.
There's probably a few people that we'd stay in touch with.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the bands that have been and gone, I don't interact with them. A lot of them don't exist anymore as well. So.
But these are guys that we went out with as well, so they didn't just come round and do the show. Like, these were friends, and we went out and we were...
Did the show, they came to make commercials. Rumour got lost in London when he was doing an interview.
But he still turned up. That's the thing, right? So Danny was meant to turn up here at about 10 o'clock in the morning, and then rang us, and he got the train going the other way, ended up in London, but still managed to get here on time. And there's a few stories like that where he'd rang us and he was stuck in Stockport somewhere. And they're from Warrington. They're from Warrington, so obviously not locals to Stockport, didn't know the area, and he just got completely lost, was trying to describe to me over the phone where he was, and I couldn't work out where he was because he was talking about flowers. And then all of a sudden was just at the door. So,
the weird thing is, I used to drive past that pub all the time. I just never knew that it was called the Flower Pot.
Yeah.
And there's not that many like.
Oh, the florist it was, wasn't it?
Florist,
yeah.
Flower Pot. Yeah, it was a florist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember like he's at a pub and he went, I wouldn't know where that is. Where is it? Like the florist. And we were going, got a fucking clue.
But you still somehow managed to get here by foot, which
it was almost like that phone call finished and he just turned up. Yeah. It's like the Amazon delivery driver that texts you to say, can I leave a package somewhere? By the time he responded, he's at your door.
Like let's talk about like the first time that we saw the 66 as well, because obviously Danny's like the big character in the band, so
I have a different memory of that.
Again,
different memory. So I think we were. I can't remember how many because we first met them when we did the live stuff at the studio, didn't we? So
we Hard Rock.
That was we went to see them.
Yeah, because that's what we're talking about. So, the first time that we actually saw and met them was at the Hard Rock Cafe in Manchester, and like I was just like, another band. And then these guys came on stage.
But you know, before that though, there was like, was not what was that woman called? That Julia. I think she was really drunk. She was like a friend of the band.
Oh, yeah.
And she was going, like a stadium.
Oh my god, yeah.
And you're there was going, okay, right, so, yeah, we've heard this all before.
She was totally bigging them up, going, these guys should be in stadiums, they're amazing, they're the best band ever. And I was just like, oh, alright, and yeah. and then they came on and did their show, and Danny climbed the scaffolding. Didn't he? Like,
it's like a piano at the top of the like, scaled the fucking wall and it ended up on a piano above the bar.
And they put on such a show that I was just like, oh my god, yeah, they should. It was like, I can actually see these guys in a stadium. And there was a girl, wasn't there? And I'm sure she won't mind us mentioning her, Lisa. She got so excited. Did she jump on the stage and then off and broke her ankle?
Broke her ankle.
But that's how pretty these guys are.
And I don't think that was the only time that she did something like that. I'm sure there was plenty of stories about that. I think for me because I remember listening to them on MySpace, and I think that was Neil Brown who found them.
It was, yes, yeah.
And I kind of dug it, and then like when I met them, I was like, actually, these guys are going to be all right.
Yeah.
And then when we turned up at the studio to do that session, they were all really quiet in the morning. I was thinking, oh no, it's going to be like fucking Stop the Blackout. Do you know what I mean? Like fucking don't make eye contact with you or whatever, and we're not allowed to talk unless the lead singer gives us the nod or whatever. It's like, come on. And I thought the studio was fucking really just hot.
Yeah, it was in the middle of summer.
They probably had a bit of a mare finding the place.
Yeah.
And there was a big fucking flight of stairs to the outside. All the gear up. And we did used to stand there like twats going, we're not fucking helping. Like we've got plenty of stuff to do.
I just point the way up, that go up there, 3 flights,
up there, and you were right. And then like, I think the place was just swallowed. I can't remember. I think they were the first band in of the day, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think they were.
And they were late.
Yeah. Were the second band in?
I can't remember.
Genuinely don't remember.
I know that they were late, and again, it was kind of like, your expectation of, oh god, here we go, it's another late band, and then we did quiet and weird, and then we found out why.
Why?
So it turns out that they'd had quite the night before. I think they'd all been out the entire night. I don't think any of them got any sleep, and they'd had a minibus bring them down, hadn't they?
Yeah.
So I think they were either still drunk or incredibly hungover. And then we're making them walk up flights of stairs with all their equipment, and then they get into the studio and it's like a sauna. And imagine how sick you feel when you're hungover and tired. But, and again, this is just such a fucking good testament to them of they just got down and got on with it like they did, and they performed their asses off.
And that was the thing with Danny, like, because I remember during one of the seasons, like when we went out, on a night out, didn't we? And he was that drunk, like he'd literally been drinking like all day into the evening. And then we ended up in some bar in town where they had like an acoustic sort of like.
Oh,
do you remember that?
yeah.
So they had like an acoustic thing, and it was just like, oh, if he plays the guitar, I'll go and sing. And he just fucking turned it on like that.
Yeah.
It was almost like he just wasn't drunk anymore. He performed, and then he just switched it off and just fucking turned it back into like whatever it was.
That was the night he was like walking around telling people they needed a drink. He was just
random people. I think I was filming that. In fact, I have a video on that.
And then he introduced us to apparently, which is quite normal in Warrington, of cheesy chips and gravy, which is not normal to us.
But the thing with that band was, like I say, and you go back and you watch them, like you look at Bordello, there's definitely one instance of where I thought Danny was going to puke. His cheeks sort of puff out just before he starts to sing. And there's definitely a point where I think Wilson's going to go.
Yeah, there is a point where like he's like drumming, and then you just see him go like this. And it's like I don't think when we was editing it we knew how rough they were, but then when they told us when I was editing it, you clearly see him go.
I definitely put things. I put things in on purpose when I was editing that, like because I was like, when he's gonna go, and like I was so happy, like when Peter said the track back. It was the track that had that as like one of the main cameras, so I could keep cutting back to that at any point. But yeah, that was the only time that he let it sort of half slip. And I had to include it. Do you know what I mean?
But yeah, the 66 were just like. When I think of our house, I think of the 66. It's kind of like a partnership in a way. They made every season so much fun to be a part of, and you know
they came in and had a good time, and that's why I say when they got it. It was about coming in, having a good time, meeting some people, making some new fans. You know, like meet some new friends, make some fans along the way. That comes across in everything they did. You know, like they brought China White down at the end of the last show. Again, they were really good, and then like they've gone on to do things together in terms of like with Mike and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got nothing but positives to say about the 66 and the memories that they gave us. So yeah, that's like just massive highlight. So I know like a lot of what we've been talking about is like kind of the struggles that we went through and the people that we met, but they are definitely like the best thing that I think came out of our house, to be honest.